Can we talk about Mariah Carey?
Sure. What can I tell you?
You make it sound like I'm going to ask you a generic Mariah Carey story, like oh, when was her first hit?
Well, no. If anything, it's just it comes late in the movie. So.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? Congratulations on the film.
Oh, thank you.
For like the first 45 minutes of it, I was doing that thing where I was trying to figure it out. I was like, okay, what does that mean? What is this world really all about? What is he saying? What's Ari saying here? Because you and I had met before. I was like, okay, what's he saying here? When I stopped doing that and just allowed myself to just watch it and stop trying to figure it out, that's when I adored it.
That's the way to watch it, is just to hopefully just open yourself up to whatever, because it changes a lot too. And I think those pivots could either be frustrating or, I hope, like exciting and invigorating. But it's one or the other, like because if you fasten yourself to any given point in the film, you're not going to stay there.
When did it first come to you?
The first iteration of the script, that's about 11 years old. It was just this thing that kind of spilled out of me that made me laugh. And then I tried to get it made at some point. There were a few scripts that I tried to get made before Hereditary, none of which were horror films. And they were all, kind of macabre in one way or another.
They weren't Trolls 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, maybe they were. I don't know. But I tried to get it made. It was, there was no traction at all. And then after making Midsommar, I was thinking about what's next, and it felt like I had just enough goodwill at that point to light it on fire.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of my next question. Like, you make Hereditary, which I remember when you came in, it was like 3 days before Hereditary came out, I think. And I remember you were talking to me about it, and you were kind of like, I don't really know what's going to happen here. And then Midsommar comes out, and that does very well as well. So you're saying that like you had a bit of goodwill to burn here, and you said, okay, well now that those things have done well, time to make the ambitious big swing here.
Yeah, well, yeah, just time to make this film that is like impossible to categorize, and I wanted to make a funny movie that was also sad.
I'm visiting my mother tomorrow.
Hi, Carrot. It's Mom. I'm just calling to say that I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. You're my angel, and I love you. Okay, I love you. Okay, bye, sweetie. I love you.
Are you at the airport?
I'm on my way. It's not safe, is it? What do you think I should do?
I'm sure you'll do the right thing, sweetheart.
Talk to me about getting Joaquin Phoenix involved here. I mean, my understanding is he was sort of the first person you wanted for this.
I went to him basically immediately after I finished the script. And, he responded, and we started talking, and I don't know, this we fell into this like courtship phase where I remember the first week we jumped on FaceTime or Zoom like 5 days in a row, and then we just kind of kept talking for a long time. And he's somebody who does not take any role like lightly, like he doesn't take on any role like without really asking himself whether he wants to like give all of himself to it, because that's what he does. He really, he's a very committed artist.
He's a very interesting dude to me, a very interesting actor. I can see how much he gives of himself. He's a little scary to me, to be honest. Like, he's sort of an intimidating dude to me. I think if I ran into him somewhere, like what was it like to work with him as a director?
Great.
Yeah?
I mean, yeah, really. I really just the greatest. to be honest, like the process of working with him kind of taught me how I wanted to work from now on.
How do you mean?
Well, just in the way that he approached any given scene, and in that he before we shot, he came out a few weeks early, and we worked together for hours every day, just reading over the script and asking questions and investigating things, and that process kind of continued through the shoot. And so the script didn't change, but for him, once something is like figured out and solid, if that once that happens, it's kind of like dead, because it's just it's done. You know what I mean? And then you're just executing something that's already been decided. And there were times where we did try to execute things that had already been decided, and it felt like wrong, and we felt that we had to somehow break through that. It's not like you're changing the scene. It's just that you're coming at it from hopefully a new place.
Just make sure I understand it. There is a way of executing a scene which is like, all right, well, here's the scene. This person meets this person. This is what the part of this narrative reveals. And that is what we're going to film right now. So that person will say that to that person, and that part of that narrative will be revealed, and the film can continue on. That's one way of doing it. What you're saying is, when you were working with him, and this is what you were really influenced by and what you were really inspired by, is that when you are doing a scene, that's not enough. There needs to be a question to be answered inside of the scene. There needs to be a level of exploration artistically or creatively or something in the scene. You have to approach it with something that's not resolved, either in some capacity or another.
Yeah. There needs to be that sense of discovery, or like the possibility of discovery. Joaquin is somebody who I like. You see him like bump sometimes on something. Like you can see, like he'll stop short, and it usually means that there's something like false there, or that he
interesting,
or that it feels like he's like affecting something, or just that it's time to do this thing.
Yeah.
And his body will like stop him from doing something if it doesn't feel true.
Yeah.
And so it's about, and I learned kind of early on to like recognize that, and then see that as an opportunity to like, okay, well, let's like take 3 steps back and let's like talk through this and go back to the lab. And every time that he kind of bumped on something, I learned within the first couple weeks, to kind of get excited about that, as opposed to like, feel that something was wrong. I mean, it usually meant that something, might be wrong, mm-hmm. but like in the scene, or in the way that we had talked about it, or in the way that we were beginning, but every time that happened, something special came out of it, and the scene came to a new life, like for me as well.
Were you thinking about anxiety or guilt in the making of this film?
Yeah, I mean, the
movie's called Beau Is Afraid.
Yeah, but it's very much about. I mean, it's about guilt. I don't really know what else to say about it, but yeah, it's about guilt and anxiety and ambivalence, more than almost anything. I think ambivalence is a very particular kind of hell. I wanted to make something that was like, that was very seriously about that. And, it's about like an unlived life. It's about somebody who's really trapped.
Were you thinking about pharmaceuticals when you were making the film?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about a lot of things, but I was thinking about pharmaceuticals. I was thinking about, parents and children and like, inheriting, like, this, like, a world that's awful, from like, like, in quotes, parents, and then, but there's like an indignation about the children not being more grateful, right?
Yeah.
For it.
Yeah. Can we talk about Mariah Carey?
Sure. What can I tell you?
You make it sound like I'm going to ask you a generic Mariah Carey story, like oh, when was her first hit?
Well, no. If anything, it's just it comes late in the movie. So.
Oh, I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You kidding me? I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
Did you talk to Mariah Carey personally about having a song in the film?
I wrote her a letter, and we sent her the scene with the song playing. We got approval pretty early on, and again, we sent her the scene. So I just figured once we got the approval that she must be like really busy, and she was not able to watch the scene. So
Right, I don't know. I think maybe she saw it and she was like, "Yeah, I mean."
No, I think now I do because I met her recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she said that she really liked the scene and appreciated my letter. I am really happy that that song is there. It was in the script, and I was challenged in post to consider another song because it was it had a price tag attached to it. And I couldn't. There's nothing. We tried something like 300 other songs, and there were some songs that that worked in one way or another, but but nothing came close to what that song kind of did to that scene.
How do you find the experience? When I was reading the interviews about Hereditary and Midsommar, and now Beau Is Afraid, there's a lot of people asking you like, "Is this about you? Is this about your own life?" I mean, this seems to be a gear that people will go to. How do you find that part of this job?
I just think that everything is personal. Like I just think anything that anybody makes is personal because it's coming from them, right? I mean. I think the political is personal. I don't know. I feel like it.
It doesn't bother you? People trying to say like, "Oh, is this about Ari's own life? Is this about his own?"
I mean, I think I'm asking for it with, kind of the nature of these films.
I just read that Martin Scorsese praised you recently, called you one of the most extraordinary voices in cinema right now. What do you think when you hear something like that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm very moved, and I'm a little like embarrassed, honestly. But he for me is the greatest living filmmaker, and that body of work is basically unrivaled in like the history of the medium. Even just the fact that he's making films of this quality this late in his life, like Silence, I think is really like one of the great films, and so is The Irishman. I mean, he is just amazing to me. And then what he's done for film history and film preservation, like he's done more than anybody, and that goes beyond. I mean, like not just among filmmakers, but just period.
Yeah.
And so. And then beyond that, I think he's somebody who's just always championed other people's work,
Yeah.
Including like just young filmmakers. And so that's something that really moved me about him before he said anything about me. And all I can say is I'm very grateful for it.
Is that the kind of career you'd like to have?
I mean, I don't think anybody's had that career. That's if I start thinking like that, I'll just give up. He's really there is nobody like him.
You made Hereditary, you made Midsommar. You are able to use the currency to make Beau Is Afraid. It's excellent. I'm excited to see what you do next, man. I can't even think about what you might do next.
Well, thank you so much.
Lovely to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
It's great to be back. Thank you.